Good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to this webinar on the topic of 5 reasons to consider automated vulnerability scanning. My name's Adrian Kelly, and I'm the marketing manager here in CommSec. We have a great lineup for you this morning, and everyone who is on this webinar today is also being offered a free vulnerability assessment for one of your critical systems. If you're interested in getting that done, please do let us know. We've had a couple of people get in touch already before the session, so please come to myself or anybody in the team here if you'd like to get that organized, and we'll talk to you about it. If you have any questions during the session, please do send them on to us via the chat function, and we'll answer them at the end of the session. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy it and find it useful. We have a great lineup for you. We're going to kick off with Joe Montgomery, who's the sales manager here in CommSec. Joe is going to just give a bit of a context and set the scene for who CommSec are, and a bit of a background for you just to get a feel for where we're coming from with all of this. And then we'll be talking to John Killiday, the technical director of CommSec, and then Ian O'Connell, who's the SOC team lead. We'll be bringing a lot of information to you this morning, guys. A lot of what we're presenting is coming from our own experience and what's come through our own learnings with our own SOC team over the last year or two. So over to you, Joe, in your own time.
Thank you, Adrian. Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Montgomery. I'm sales manager in CommSec, and welcome to our webinar, 5 reasons you should consider automated vulnerability scanning. The webinar is one of many we are running throughout 2020, and they're all designed to help organizations improve their IT cybersecurity. Throughout 2020 so far, we've seen a marked increase in cyber threats. This has led to, I suppose, an increased awareness that cybersecurity is critical to organizations and involves the protection of their IT systems, but more importantly, the data that these companies are holding from these cyber threats. And I suppose what we're trying to do is just sort of help organizations reduce the risk of an IT event or IT security event. So I'm just going to take a few moments and just sort of give you an overview of who CommSec are for people who are not aware of ourselves. Where is the next slide? Hi, so we're CommSec are a specialist cybersecurity company. We have a number of different practices within our organization, but we have a security operations center where we provide 24/7 monitoring or security monitoring for a wide range of clients that we have. We also provide vulnerability scanning as a service, which will be, I suppose, the main topic of what we're talking about today later on. We also provide multi-factor authentication as a service, where we work with an organization called Duo. We also provide cybersecurity education and phishing campaigns. We work with cyber risk aware in this particular space, and we help sort of organizations improve the end user or their users' IT security awareness, so they reduce the possibility of clicking on links and so on, and introducing malware or phishing into the organization. Allied to this, we also provide firewall as a service, password as a service, where we work with partners like Palo Alto, Sophos on the firewall side, and Keeper on the password management side. We also provide we have a practice around digital forensics, where we provide e-discovery and digital investigations, and we can also provide expert witness if that is required. One of the elements about CommSec is that we have a very strong sort of technical team, and our strength is built upon our technical sort of capabilities. And we have a sort of strong professional services division or practice, where we provide information security audits and assessments. We help organizations with ISO 27001, whether they're looking to get certification or they want to align to that service. We can help them with that. On the penetration testing side, we work with a wide variety of organizations, where we do test web applications, mobile applications, infrastructure, different systems within organizations. And then allied to that, we have CISO as a service, DPO or Data Protection Officer as a service for organizations who have recognized the need for these type of skills within their organization, but don't have the resources or can't find the people to fill these places, because there are certain sort of skills shortages out there. So, sorry. So what we've seen, I just want to share some thoughts on what we've seen with our clients. The landscape has changed with the pandemic, and we've seen a large increase in people using cloud services, but that's also brought on a sort of increase in attacks that we've seen. And I'll just share some stats later on that we've seen from our Security Operations Center. But with the advent of people being sent home and everybody having to work from home, where people have had to start using collaboration tools, the organizations had to put in place VPNs or two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, give their employees new laptops, mobile devices, so they can communicate with the organization and with their colleagues. Allied to this, with the sort of the digital transformation which has been accelerated by the pandemic, where organizations need to communicate with their employees and also with their customers, suppliers, and they increase their sort of adoption of cloud services. They've moved on with sort of agile development and really trying to accelerate services to be available. And also we've noticed, we're talking to our clients, that there's an adoption of a sort of a multi-cloud approach, where there have been certain outages in certain regions around the world with some of these sort of major cloud providers, and now they're sort of looking at putting some of their services in different clouds to sort of give them a sort of bit of extra resilience. But this has all led to a sort of an increase in complexity, and it's sort of harder to protect their organizations. These are just sort of some statistics I just want to share with you. These are from our Security Operations Center, and from February up to sort of August, we have seen a huge increase in the advanced persistent threat attacks, buffer flow attacks, botnet attacks. And so this is just I suppose to highlight that the things have got worse, and they're not going to get better. So we really do have to really work a bit extra hard and put in our policies and procedures to try and improve our security. This is just to sort of pictorially show that in the first 2 months this year, there were these type of attacks, but come March, when I suppose the pandemic really hit us here in Ireland and sort of in Europe, we did see a sort of significant increase in these attacks, because the threat landscape, I suppose, had broadened for users and organizations. So I suppose, why is this happening? Well, I suppose there's opportunities out there for an awful lot of these cyber criminals and organizations who want to disrupt business. And it's really getting, I don't know if people saw that in Germany there was a hospital that got hacked, and they're relating that it's possibly someone couldn't be brought into the hospital and were transferred to another hospital, and the person died on the way. So these hacks are beginning to have really serious effects on people, organizations. But one of the reasons we found, because people had to really accelerate and adapt to the situation that the pandemic sort of brought upon us, they had to start putting services online, as I said earlier on, getting people working from home. But it led to, not in all organizations, but in some organizations, that some of the systems weren't properly tested from a security perspective. And that has led to weaknesses and gaps, and organizations are trying to sort of backfill or catch up with improving the security of their systems to protect the data, to protect their users and their clients' information, because with the regulatory requirements around GDPR or PCI or whatever the business issues are, there could be serious consequences around brand reputation, fines, and so on and so forth. So that's my quick sort of overview. I just wanted to give you the sort of an element of who CommSec are, what we're doing, and why we're sort of talking about this topic today. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass you back to Adrian, and he will take on the talk.
Thanks very much, Joe.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Sure. Thanks a million, Joe. That was great. Yeah, so now next up, we're going to have a look with John Killalay. John is the technical director here in CommSec, and John is going to walk us through, here's where we get technical. We're going to get down to the technical reasons, and John's going to walk us through that before we bring on to Ian. So over to you, John. All good?
Thanks, Adrian. Good morning, everyone. I'm John Killalay. I'm the technical director for CommSec. Thanks for joining our webinar today. I'll be talking about some good reasons to consider automated vulnerability scanning for your organization. So first of all, I suppose, what is automated vulnerability scanning? So the automated process of proactively identifying security vulnerabilities of computing systems in a network in order to determine if and when a system can be exploited and or threatened. It's quite a wordy explanation, but it kind of captures kind of what it is. So first reason why you should consider, you want to find unknown vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. So as some of you may know, a lot of data breaches are the result of vulnerabilities that have been already disclosed by vendors for some time, in some cases up to a year, and may have fixes or patches available. An example of this is the configure worm, which was first detected in 2008 and is still seen on the internet. This is due to some IT systems not being updated since then. This is an unusual case, but it is common for organizations to have external systems that have not been updated in a long time. When we are doing penetration tests in CommSec, we sometimes see examples of this where organizations have outdated operating systems or applications. This makes it easy for attackers to find these vulnerabilities using automated tools. They can simply scan the internet looking for any system that has a known vulnerability. Our SOC team see this on a daily basis, where someone will scan large numbers of IP addresses looking for vulnerabilities that are easy to exploit. So organizations need to be able to find these vulnerabilities in their environment before the attacker does. Before this can be done, the organization needs to be able to identify all of their assets. Some organizations may not know how many actual devices are on their networks and what those devices are. Using an automated vulnerability scanning service can help an organization to find all assets connected to your network at the time of the scan. And then using a database of known vulnerabilities and common attack types, it can scan your environment and identify systems and applications that have missing patches, software issues, or misconfigurations. This gives the organization the opportunity to remediate those issues before the attackers can find them and exploit them. To show how important this is, as an example, back in May 2017, the credit reporting company Equifax suffered a massive data breach in which the personal details of about 143 million people were exposed. It was later found that the attackers exploited a known vulnerability in Apache Struts, which was running on an external facing server. Apache Struts is a widely used enterprise platform. Apache had been available for 2 months before this, but the Equifax had failed to notice or take action on this. And to make matters worse, in response to the incident, Equifax hastily set up a new site offering free credit monitoring, but it was also riddled with vulnerabilities. If Equifax had been running regular vulnerability scans and acting on the results, they would have found this issue and potentially fixed it before the attackers found it. Much of the data that Equifax stores does not come from customers themselves, but is a result of credit checking requests. So Equifax had a particular responsibility to protect that data, but in this case, it didn't really appear to be taken that seriously. So second reason, on to number 2. So automated vulnerability scanning can help identify issues early in the software development lifecycle. So most software development teams will do some form of testing for bugs, and this should include some element of security testing to identify security issues. Bugs of any kind can be expensive to fix if they're found late in the development lifecycle. In some cases, a penetration test would be used to find vulnerabilities after an application has been fully developed. Penetration testing is very useful and should be considered for applications, especially external facing systems. However, as it is usually done at the end of the process, vulnerabilities found at this stage can be expensive to fix, as the application may need to be redesigned or have additional development done to implement security controls. This can also delay the release of the application, and depending on how much rework is required, this could be significant. In some cases, organizations may have to choose between delaying the release of the software or releasing it with known security issues. I've been in this situation in the past where I had to request an application release is put on hold due to a critical vulnerability found in testing. The business unit that was waiting on the release were not happy with us, but agreed that the vulnerability must be fixed first. And if this development had been done for a customer or third party, it may not have been acceptable to them. An automated vulnerability scanning service can identify security bugs in an application. Doing this throughout the development can help find security bugs early in the life cycle. The scanning can be done as often as required on an ad hoc basis or scheduled to run regularly. It can be particularly useful for agile development as it can be used in every sprint. As some of you might know, back in 2015, a data breach occurred in the UK internet service provider TalkTalk. Personal details on 150,000 customers were compromised. This was the result of an SQL injection vulnerability on their public website. Websites often use SQL queries to request actions to be performed on a database. The database is not directly exposed to the internet, as the website code makes requests to the database. If the application is not designed or coded securely, an attacker can use a technique known as SQL injection to make unintended requests to the database. This can result in data being exposed or deleted from the database. SQL injection is a well-known technique and has been understood by the security community for over 20 years. TalkTalk could have avoided this breach if they had fixed the SQL injection vulnerability. If they'd been using an automated vulnerability scanning service during the development of the website, they may have found and resolved this issue before the website was made available to the public. Okay, on to number 3. So scheduled scans run without interaction. With all the other things IT teams have to do, it can be easy to overlook running a vulnerability scan, even if they have the solution in place. An important element of good vulnerability management process is the ability to configure scheduled scans to run automatically. As the scans run without interaction, it reduces the workload on the internal IT teams. Time and effort can be redirected to other activities. And with the current shortage of skills in the security industry, this can be important. Security tools should be there to help IT teams, not create more work for them. When scheduling scans, they can be configured to run at certain hours of the day. This can be during the night or over weekends and can avoid busy office times. They should be configured to run on a repeat cycle to ensure the scans run continuously and catch new vulnerabilities as they are introduced. As mentioned earlier, vulnerability scanning should be done regularly. If compared to physical security, you would be expecting a security guard to patrol and monitor your office regularly, not once a year. It also helps the IT teams that will be applying the patches. If all findings had to be remediated within a week, they would prefer a monthly or weekly scan with a small number of items to look at each time, compared to one large report once a year, and then have only a week to remediate everything in it. Having worked in several organizations where I was responsible for patching, I can understand how frustrating it is to be handed a 100-page report and told to fix everything quickly. The attackers are constantly looking for new targets, so organizations must be able to keep up with them. Ad hoc or one-off scans can still be run as required in addition to the scheduled scan. For example, if a major change was planned on an external service, an organization may wish to run a scan on it after it's been implemented. And to improve the efficiency of this process, the vulnerability scanning service can be integrated into ticketing or case management systems. And then the results of the scans can be automatically populated into these systems. Another useful benefit is that the results can also give remediation information, which can be particularly useful for findings that are application weaknesses, so the development teams can understand why the scanning service highlighted a particular vulnerability. Okay, on to number 4. So compliance with regulatory requirements and standards. This is a common one. Many companies have to do this. Some of the industries that we work in have regulatory requirements that we must meet. Some organizations also seek compliance with other standards. And a common requirement for these types of standards is regular patching of systems and scanning for vulnerabilities. So some examples of that. ISO 27001 is a recognized industry standard for managing information security. Organizations use it to ensure the right controls are in place to protect their assets. And then if they achieve certification, they can demonstrate to other parties that they are taking the necessary steps to keep their assets secure. And one of the requirements of ISO 27001 is A1286, Technical Vulnerability Management. To comply with this requirement, organizations must show that they have a process in place to regularly check for missing patches and for remediating them. An automated vulnerability scanning service can help with this process by scanning the entire network regularly and finding systems that have not been updated. Another example is Cyber Essentials. This is an information assurance scheme operated by the UK's National Cyber Security Centre, NCSE. It encourages organisations to adopt good practices in information security. The Cyber Essentials standard includes requirement 6, software patching. To meet this requirement, organisations must show that all high-risk or critical updates for operating systems and applications are being applied in a timely manner. An automated vulnerability scanning service could help this process as well. It can identify systems that have not had patches applied. It can also identify assets on the network that the organisation may not be aware of. This can happen more often than some people would think. It is not unusual to find an old laptop or other device connected to the network that hasn't been patched in a long time. Another example of these kind of standards is where some organizations must comply with standards set by a third party, such as a customer or partner. This usually takes the form of a questionnaire that the organization must complete in return. The customer wants to ensure that any information they give to the organization will be handled securely. A common requirement on these questionnaires is vulnerability management. The organization must be able to show that they are identifying missing patches and updating systems regularly. Demonstrating this capability can be helped a lot by stating that an automated vulnerability scanning service is used. As mentioned above, it can automate the process of identifying assets and missing updates. This will help to demonstrate to the customer that the organization has good security processes in place. I've worked in several organizations that had to do this, and I was responsible for completing the questionnaires. Any automated security processes we had were good to show to the customer, as it demonstrated a proactive approach to security. Okay, and finally, number 5. So prioritization of important vulnerabilities. This is important. New vulnerabilities are found every day. Major software vendors are announcing new issues in their systems and releasing updates on a regular basis. For example, in its September patch cycle, Microsoft announced patches for 129 vulnerabilities across 15 different products. Adobe, SAP, Intel, VMware, Google, and others also released security updates this month. So organizations could have dozens or even hundreds of different systems and applications to update. Keeping up with all of these updates can be difficult and time-consuming for IT teams who have to work on this as well as all their other responsibilities. Prioritization is a key part of effective vulnerability management. It allows the IT teams to focus on the higher risk updates. High risk and critical updates can be rolled out quickly, and the other updates can follow after that. An automated vulnerability scanning service can help an IT team to prioritize vulnerabilities. It can quickly show systems that are missing high risk and critical updates. It will also show the number of systems that need the updates, which can help with planning the rollout. The IT teams can then prioritize updates for those systems. This ensures that systems are better protected and the IT teams are focusing their effort in the areas that are needed most. Once the systems have been patched, they can be scanned again to ensure that none were missed. In a survey of IT security teams by the Pullman Institute, 52% of respondents said they are at a disadvantage due to manual vulnerability management processes. Patching and updating is a race against time. The attackers can see the announcements from vendors at the same time as the IT teams do. Automated tools can greatly reduce the time taken to apply critical and high-risk updates. So that's all from me. Just some information about the benefits of automated vulnerability scanning. Thanks for listening. I hope you find it useful. I'll now hand you back over to Adrian.
Thanks a million, John. That's very good. John is obviously going to be staying with us, and we'll get into some technical questions in a little while. I'm going to hand you over now to Ian O'Connell. Ian is the SOC team lead here in CommSec, and Ian is the guy who's at the front line of dealing with vulnerabilities and scanning, and he's going to walk you through, as part of his presentation, our own scanning system and service called CheckScan Plus. So in your own time there, Ian.
Well, thanks, Adrian. That was very informative, John. Thanks for those reasons. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on 5 reasons you should consider automated vulnerability scanning. Again, I'm Ian O'Connell. I'm the Security Operations Centre's team lead here at CommSec, and I deal with the day-to-day running of CheckScan Plus and providing scan reports to our customers. So I'm here to talk about our platform CheckScan Plus and to give real-life examples of how our customers have benefited from automated vulnerability scanning and how some of them have addressed those reasons. Again, we have various customers in different industries, but all share similar reasons and needs for automated vulnerability scanning, as John pointed out earlier in the presentation. So I'm going to go into a bit more detail on some of our customer success stories. We have customers from research software providers, access control management providers, and risk management. So all of these customers all share similar different reasons why they wanted vulnerability scanning, from misconfigurations, unknown vulnerabilities, compliance, prioritizing patches as well. So they all have similar different reasons. So I'll walk you along through our first customer story, which is a research software provider. They needed to find if vulnerabilities existed, where in their infrastructure and where in the web application and APIs. So they had a task here with that. So they also needed to provide to be able to schedule scans on a continuous basis and quickly identify high risk and impact vulnerabilities on their web applications, APIs, and infrastructure. They work a lot with healthcare data, so they need to have up-to-date information of where vulnerabilities exist on their web application and infrastructure, so they can address those issues quickly and efficiently as possible, and delegate different patches to different people on their security team. At the start, they want to develop a vulnerability management program, and also leverage a third party like us, CommSec, and provide them with the knowledge and skill set of a security team. So we were able to give more in-depth view into the vulnerabilities, as well as provide them with a clear and false positive free vulnerability reports as well. So that's just one. I'll move on to our second customer, which is customer number 2. Is an access control management provider. So again, this customer works with a wide variety of organizations around the world, but they need to ensure the security of their application to their clients. So they need to make sure that their security is up to date, all of the patches are applied. They also have a smaller IT team where we would give them the in-depth view into the vulnerabilities that we've found on their web applications. So we can give them a full report, so they can go off and patch different vulnerabilities that are found, whether if it's something to do with their web application, there's an OWASP vulnerability, or if there's an infrastructure vulnerability as well, we can provide them with that, so we can identify the issues pretty quickly and set up frequent scans. And again, to give the reassurance to their customers that that they're up to date with their compliance and regulatory standards, and they can provide a quality assured product to their customers. So just moving on to customer number 3 as well, and risk management. So again, they worked with a variety of organizations around the world and have security measures in place required by their clients. So they need to provide, again, these reports to their clients to show that they're on top of the vulnerabilities that come out, and that they're given a good product to their customers as well in the risk management sector. So they wanted to find out the unknown vulnerabilities, misconfigurations in their web application. They wanted the ability to schedule scans to run without interaction on a weekly or monthly basis, as well as after releases as well. So as you know, as John was saying, as releases get pushed, some vulnerabilities may not be there exactly, or may have been oversight, so they're just pushed out to the world. But we get the reassurance of going out and scanning those newly released applications, finding the vulnerabilities, and able to issue them with a clear report to say, this is exactly where they are, this is how to replicate it as well, and here's remediation on how to fix it as well. So the reports that we offer here at CheckScan Plus are really, really beneficial in that way. We can pinpoint exactly where the vulnerability is, how to replicate, and again, how to remediate the vulnerability as well. So again, they were keeping up with compliance and regulatory standards. Again, with GDPR, we offer some scan profiles there with CheckScan Plus, where we can actually look for PII information. We can find out email addresses, phone numbers, IBAN numbers, PPS numbers. We can go out and find that information in some of our scans and make sure that they're okay on their web application side and on their infrastructure side as well. So we're able to get on top of things and remediate the vulnerabilities before they're exploited as well, as John was saying. So I'll just bring it back. These are just 3 examples of how we support our customers and provide them with the utmost. There's other organizations benefiting at the moment from CheckScan Plus and our reports that we bring to them. And they're able to query us for more information about the vulnerabilities. We give a very in-depth approach on how to remediate them, offer advice on exactly how to replicate them. If their IT teams are unsure or don't understand the vulnerability, we're there to explain and help you walk through the way, along the way, so that we can help secure your web applications and infrastructure as well. So I'll give you a little bit of in-depth into what CheckScan Plus is. So it's a fully managed vulnerability scanning service that does automated vulnerability scanning. It combines the industry-leading application and infrastructure scanning technology with the security expertise from our SOC analysts here at CommSec. So we can actually leverage different tools, correlate them all onto this one system, and we can provide you with an in-depth report that is practically false positive free. And we're also validating results as well as we go along, making sure that they're clear and it's a valid vulnerability that's existing in the infrastructure or web application. So again, CheckScan Plus uses a sophisticated scanning engine, which is designed and maintained by security experts and designed by penetration testers. So we can actually provide this automated vulnerability scanning service to our customers. So what we can do and what we can offer is the full scheduling and configuration of the scans, configuration of a custom Go scripts as to parse and authenticate web applications, infrastructure, and APIs. We have a feature here with CheckScan Plus where we can actually go into the business logic flow. So if you have an example of going through a shopping cart, or if you have a login page, we're able to parse through that and find vulnerabilities in that process, whether it be related to authentication or validation at the checkout level as well. We can do that here. So again, our SOC analysts and threat hunters analyze your scan results. We identify and rule out the false positives that may occur from a scan. We also validate these scan results so that you get a clearer picture of exactly what vulnerabilities exist in the infrastructure and web application side. So I'm going to show you the 5 reasons on CheckScan Plus on the actual platform with a demo to follow. So guys, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section and we'll get back and answer them as we go along through the demo as well. So I'll just hold on while I transfer over to the demo there. Okay. So here's our CheckScan Plus platform at the moment. So I'll give you a walkthrough of what our dashboard is and how it relates back to the reasons that John presented earlier as well. So this is the overview that we get. On the left-hand side, you can see our tracker. So we're able to track the vulnerabilities from each scan over time. So from the start of the month, or from the start of the year to the end of the year, or on a weekly basis, we provide them. You can see here that we've 210 high vulnerabilities, 41 medium, and 261 low, and we can track that over time. So you can actually get a consistent graph of actually the vulnerabilities going down, or if they're going up, you can get a clear view here. We also include, if there's OS top 10 vulnerabilities that are detected, we're able to display that graphic here so that we can actually see the OS vulnerabilities. And again, on the right-hand side, we have a recent scan section, so we can see which a breakdown of all the scans that have been conducted. We can get a view of the high, medium, and low, and exactly who scheduled the vulnerability scan as well. We also have an activity feed, so we can see who updated the scan, who has deployed the scan as well. We have the most vulnerable hosts here as well. So we can give, if there's a domain, if there's an asset, we can clearly see here on the dashboard which has the highest amount of vulnerabilities or the lowest amount of vulnerabilities as well. So I'll walk you in through some of finding out the vulnerabilities, the misconfigurations, and what a scan result looks like. So here we have a scan result. We can see exactly the vulnerabilities that we've confirmed. Before this scan results get published, our analysts go through it and validate that those vulnerabilities actually exist on the web application. So we have a few examples here from high, medium and low vulnerabilities as well. So I'll give you a little in-depth into what the vulnerability looks like. We have here, it'll tell you exactly what vulnerability has been detected. We can decide the priority, impact and probability of it happening as well. We have it listed here. Whereabouts on the application or infrastructure where it has occurred, the target URL or URL parameter data that would go with it, as well as when it was first detected and when it was last detected. So if you have remediated this vulnerability on it, and you want to try and scan it again just to check if it's there, we can see exactly in the results if it's been fully taken out or if it's detected again over time. Again, we provide the description of exactly what the vulnerability is and the solution to how and combat it, and we're able to provide a patch then through that. So we also have a workflow. So if you need to assign it to a different time, we integrate with different ticketing systems like Jira, TeamCity as well to integrate into your secure development lifecycle. We can assign exactly who needs to look at the vulnerability. If the vulnerability is fixed, unfixed, a false positive, or an acceptable risk. We can also update or lower the priority of the vulnerability. And as well, we can suppress the vulnerability if there's an acceptable risk and you're aware of it. We can suppress that for a certain number of days or months as well. There's also additional notes that can be added. So if you have a ticketing system and you want to give a technical engineer some more details into the vulnerability, we can provide them here as well in the platform. So some of the scans that we offer with CheckScan Plus is a standard scan where we go off and we just look for vulnerabilities through a signature-based, heuristic-based, and the business logic flow as well. We also offer different plugins for different web applications, so like the likes of WordPress or CDNs that are common on the market. We offer specific scans. We have other interesting ones like a GDPR deep scan, where we can actually go off and look for PII information, like I was saying earlier in my presentation, where we can actually find addresses, dates of births, any kind of PII related information. We also offer a crypto mining plugin. So there's a lot of attacks lately where you've heard of Megacart, where a skimmer has been put on a shopping cart and it copies and clones the different cards as people process legitimately on their web application. We can actually detect if there's obfuscated JavaScript that's been put into the web application. We can go off and find it and check if it's valid JavaScript that maybe a customer has uploaded, or if a malicious actor has uploaded this as well. We also have long-running scans which replicate an automated penetration test, so we can go in and safely exploit some of the vulnerabilities that we found. So if including SQL injection, some of the signature-based ones as well that penetration testers would do, we can do it in an automated fashion as well. We also provide a GDPR passive one, so we look passively for compliance issues in the web application and infrastructures. But we offer this scan where we can find when people present at the likes of Black Hat and DEF CON conventions, they tend to release kind of zero-day exploits. So we can go off and we can actually scan applications and infrastructures to look for those exploits that are presented at different shows along the way and during the year. We also have the SQL injection profiles and some other ones where we've seen in customers is Citrix, the Pulse Secure VPN and the Ghost Cat on the Apache servers, we can actually look out and go specific for those vulnerabilities or vulnerabilities related to them. We can find if they're on a web application or infrastructure and see it there as well. So that's some of the features here at CheckScan Plus. If you have any questions, please feel free. I can walk you through it, or if you want to walk through a bit more on the demo, feel free. So I'll hand you back over to Adrian, if that's okay.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Ian. It's great. Very informative. With a couple of quick questions were submitted earlier. I'll just get them rolling here. We have one. What about scanning in Azure or AWS and other cloud environments?
Yeah, so I'll take that if that's okay. It's a software as a service, so we can scan cloud infrastructure. We can scan. We can also, if there's anything external, we can scan that as well. We have an internal hub where we can scan on internal networks as well.
Okay, all right. Is there any, hang on a second now here. Does this replace your normal annual pen test?
No. It's good to continuously scan, but we still recommend like a pen test is conducted as well. So.
Okay. You see, could you just elaborate on that one actually before we move on to the next question? Why is that?
So sometimes it's good to have human interaction. You know, there might be a human element to a web application where we can actually, a penetration tester might go into a bit more detail than the platform, but it's still good to have an automated vulnerability scanner constantly working and finding different patches on or vulnerabilities on different patches that have not been installed on the infrastructure or web applications.
Okay. Okay.
I'll add to that, Adrian, as well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So another advantage of penetration testing is they'll find business logic flaws in an application. So if the application is just doing something it shouldn't be doing, sometimes it's hard for an automated tool to pick that up. It takes a person looking at it to say, you know, that there's something strange here, I need to dig further. Penetration test, the tester would use automated tools as well as part of his testing. And I would use CheckScan Plus when I'm doing penetration testing. But it just takes, you know, someone to look at it as well. So ideally, you as Ian said, you do both. You do continuous scanning using your automated tools, and then you do at least annually a full penetration test using manual techniques as well.
Okay. Okay. Someone else is asking, is this CheckScan rebranded or is it functionally different? Is there anything else to it?
Could clarify the question, Adrian?
Is this just CheckScan Plus rebrand, or is this just AppCheck rebranded, or is it also technically or functionally different?
So we use AppCheck as one of the tools as part of the service, but we also use other tools. But the main advantage of the service is that our SOC team are looking at the output of it, and they're providing guidance on using it, setting up scans, scheduling scans, removing false positives, validating the output, and then I suppose just a human eye kind of looking over everything to make sure it's all good. So it's a step beyond just using automated tools by using our service.
Okay. Another question here: how many scans can you run, or is there a limit, or how does that work?
No, it's no limit. You can run as many scans as you want and as frequently as you want.
Okay. Another one. It's what about, is it for external or internal scans? I'm quite sure what they mean by that, but I assume.
So yeah, so I suppose internal scans would be running it on your internal network, so looking at your workstations and servers on your internal network. External scans would be on your external facing infrastructure, so websites, FTP servers, file server, or web servers, things like that. So CheckScan Plus can do both. So it's cloud-based, so it scans from the cloud, scanning your network. But as Ian mentioned earlier, we also have a hub that we can install inside your network. It can then scan your internal network, and it feeds the results back into the console, the CheckScan Plus console in the cloud. And so all your results are in one place, but you're able to scan your external and your internal networks at the same time.
Okay. Another question here, it talks about sort of, is it cumbersome, or how easy is this to get set up, or is it a big project?
It's very easy, and I suppose typically you might start off scanning one or two things just to kind of get used to the tool, but it's very easy to set up. We get customers up and running very quickly, and you'll start seeing results straight away. As soon as the scans are finished, you'll see the results, and yeah, it's pretty easy to use.
Okay, very good. Hang on, there's another question here. Limitations to it? Anything it can scan, or anywhere it can't go, or any?
Well, limitations, maybe if you had firewalls blocking it, so it does need access, maybe through firewalls, if you're blocking incoming traffic, or if you've got IPS that's kind of looking for these kind of tools, it can interfere. So typically what we do is, if that's the case, we would, if you want to get a full view of your infrastructure, you kind of whitelist Checkscan Plus so it can come through your firewall or IPS. But apart from that, it should be able to scan those things.
Okay, and the last question I have here is just talking about remediation. Does this service include any remediation of issues that you've identified, or is it just, flagging it basically?
So it doesn't do automated remediation, but it does provide detailed remediation steps and guidance on how to fix things, which can be very useful, especially for application testing, where it might find vulnerabilities in a custom built application. So if you need to explain to your developers how to fix them, the tool provides detailed guidance on what it found, why it was an issue, and what you could do to fix it. But it doesn't have built-in automated remediation. No.
Okay. And can CommSec provide some of that remediation if necessary, or does it depend on what it is?
Depends on what it is, but we can provide guidance on it, and we also offer managed services to help customers with their networks and servers if they would like that as well. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, guys, unless there's any other questions, that's them all that I have here. If anyone has anything else, oh, hang on, sorry, no, there's one more question after popping up here. Can scan be for both connected and not connected mode? Does that make sense to you?
So not sure what that means. I'm guessing if it's our devices when they're not on the network. So it won't scan it if it's not on the network. But if you run a schedule scan, it'll pick it up the next time it is on the network. And the scan is running, it'll find it then. But it won't find it if it's not on the network, if that's what you mean.
Okay. Okay, and no other questions, I don't think, guys. Any other questions? Now's your time. But like I said, if there is anything else, please do get in touch afterwards, and we can arrange a deeper conversation about Checkscan and the whole topic in general. Vulnerability scanning, it is new to a lot of people, this approach, which is what has led us to develop the Checkscan service, really, because as we touched on it earlier, a tool on its own is great, but without some intelligence and service and some human expertise around it, it can be limited in its use. Just remind everybody again, there is a free vulnerability assessment of one of your systems. If you'd like us to talk to you about that, please do get in touch and let us know, and we'll get that organized for you as well. In the meantime, the replay of this webinar will be available fairly soon on our website. And if there's nothing else, guys, I think that's everything. So thank you very much for your time this morning. I hope you found that really useful. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Adrian.
Cheers, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.